No funny banter ahead of the show starting today. Jeff ran off to get a coffee, so the real question is, can he get back in time? Sounds like it.
Record time.
All right. The minute 10 to spare. It's Friday. You pouring anything else in that coffee?
No. Should though.
Yeah, you should.
Nothing on hand.
It's nice. We get to listen to you slurp. That's wonderful.
Yeah. I tell you what does taste good in coffee. That's rum chata.
Ooh. You know, I haven't had rum
What's that?
chata since you and I drank too much of it. And
God.
was that in Vegas? Or no? Where was that?
Yeah. That was Vegas. Oh my God. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think I forgot about it too.
God, we did not feel good that next morning. I was feeling rough. Joe Pastel was with us that evening.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we do remember it.
God.
All right, here we go. 2 seconds. All right, there we go. Yeah, so Jan wants to know, how you like your coffee, Jeff?
Rum chata.
Do you take it with cream and sugar, or you go straight black?
No, I go black.
Yeah. I mix
Unless
it up.
I have rum chata sitting around.
Oh, you know what I discovered the other day? Stoke, S-T-O-K, coffee. They sell it like at all grocery stores, and there's one, it's a cold brew, and there's one that's like, it's called like Just Right Sweet or Just a Little Sweet or something. And ran out of some coffee the other day and used one of those and heated it up. Man, it was awesome. Like hot cold brew is awesome. I'd never tried it before.
Hot cold brew. I don't know if I've ever had it. It's called Stoke?
S-T-O-K, yeah. But get the one with that when it's just a little bit of sweetener or whatever. It was like the perfect amount. It's good.
That's why I get the twisted teas. I know it sounds sort of, it's not manly.
You have
drink,
it with
but,
your pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah. But the twisted teas are too sweet. Now they got the semi-sweet twisted teas. I'm like, they're good. Spot on.
Can you put rum chata in that?
No, but I do man them up by putting a shot or two of sweet tea vodka in it.
Oh, now there's an idea.
Yeah. It is. It's a great idea. Works very well. Don't have to drink 6 or 7 of them. You only have to drink like 2.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the rum chata. I went down that kick for a while, many years ago. Of course, that was the same time that we were talking about being in Vegas. And we would take the rum chata and you would mix it with the Fruit Loop. Trying to think who makes it. I don't think it's Stoli. It may be Stoli, but they've got a Fruit Loop vodka, and you mix that in with the rum chata, and it tastes like your leftover bowl of milk from eating Fruit Loops. It goes down too smooth. That's why we felt like shit the next morning.
I don't think I've tried that combo, but
oh, you did. You just don't remember.
Oh. I like just straight whiskey. That's my favorite these days. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I just got back from the bourbon. I just got back from the bourbon trail.
So jealous. 3
weeks ago.
Yeah, you want to tell
awesome.
people
Dude,
about that one?
sometime.
That's cool. You were a Maker's Mark ambassador.
Yeah. You have to be invited by another ambassador, and there's an app, and that person can invite you. So I did mine like 7-8 years ago, and then while we were there, I invited my good friend Tim, and then his was up just a couple weeks ago. So I think that matures like 7-8 years, and then you get a notification saying that your barrel's ready, and you get to visit the Maker's Mark ambassador VIP status, all that good stuff. It's cool. You get a tour of the facility, get a few little extras. It's pretty badass.
You get to dip your
And then
bottle
from
in
there, I
red
think,
wax.
yeah, you get to dip your bottle because I think you get one bottle that comes with it, and then of course you can purchase other bottles, and then you get to do the wax dip. It's a good time. And we also hit up Buffalo Trace and Willard. Willard was pretty
Nice.
nice. They didn't have the tastings open though. So every other place had tastings open, but they
Hmm.
didn't.
I love some Buffalo Trace.
Yeah,
And
it's good stuff.
And Jim, I'm going to call him Jim K. He was just saying he found some monkey shoulder in Canada, so maybe he took some advice from a prior episode where I was recommending that to Brian Pash, right? Yeah. And speaking of
Yeah,
past
I've never had that.
episodes, yeah, I think monkey shoulder is a good entry level Scotch. Somebody who wants to start drinking bourbon or vodka or bourbon or whiskey or Scotch, and that one's super smooth, pretty sweet too.
I've never even looked for it. I'll have to look for it.
Yep. It's not a bank breaker either, which is great. So it's definitely a good start. It's a little more than Buffalo Trace, but anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, Beam does. They'll do these single barrels every year, and they're not expensive. Man, that's some good whiskey,
Hmm.
some good bourbon.
Well, maybe we should get this show off of alcohol and jump into the news.
You have a way of doing that.
Our opinionated and biased coverage of the news, just like all other media outlets. So yeah, we're just talking about prior Refresh Fridays in October. So we had Brian Pash on. That was while you were at Maker's Mark, and
Yes, sir.
we were talking about his upcoming event, and then he was sharing some pretty cool stats that giving us a bit of a preview that he's going to do at the Automotive Analytics Industry Summit. I know I'm missing something in there. AAAAAAAAIS. But
One of those.
that event. And then we went to Kevin Fry, who came back from Digital Dealer in Vegas, and he gave us the rundown on Digital Dealer and Grizzly Milk.
Grizzly milk.
And then
Mix that
Jason
in with
Rice
coffee.
really blew my mind. I don't know how you left that show last week, Jeff, but I had never considered doing measurements of dealership performance based on inventory, and not just like inventory levels, but the actual inventory, like how hot cars are. So if you've got more hot vehicles in stock, your performance should go up, for example, versus when you don't have many hot vehicles, it'll probably go down. And being cognizant of that, like how many appointments are you setting on the crap cars versus how many appointments are you setting on the good cars, and then are you setting multiple appointments on the hot cars? Was really good way of looking at
Well,
it.
I think for me, that was the big thing. And it was actually something I had used to do way back in the day, would be to remove those leads on vehicles that already, maybe they already had a deposit on it, but we still kept them live on the website, and overnight you get 2 or 3 leads. It's like, do you count those at the end of the month, or, and if so, I mean, does it really change your closing ratio or your lead to show ratio that much? I guess it depends on the vehicle, so sort of take it one by one. But
Yep.
I always remember sometimes we'd have like a hot car and someone would price it wrong, like way too low by accident or something. Someone would fat finger it in wrong. And then you get come back on a Monday and you've got 30 leads sitting in there on the same vehicle, and it would just demolish your monthly reports.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that, and I also like the idea of changing up the follow-up based on those metrics, based on your inventory.
Yeah. I have been thinking every day at some point during the day, just a new idea has come to my head of how do you set that up or do it? And if I had a CRM company, man, that would be our new roadmap.
Don't do it, Alex.
I'm
Don't do
not.
it.
Nope. Don't worry. Don't worry. Done that.
I'll
Been
fly
there.
up to
Done that.
Vermont and smack the. I'll fly up to Vermont and smack the shit out of you.
You know, I don't know. It's not. It's not an immediate plan.
I bet you
like
still
that.
do it. Yeah, yeah. But you still consider it.
It's just too good. I really like that one. And let's face it. I mean, this CRM environment's ripe for the picking. It's so antiquated and not made for what we're going through today. In fact, we'll come back around to that. There's some forums and or some threads in the forums about this. So, but first, we've got a new sponsor, and I think next week we're going to get in the next week or two, we're going to get a rundown of how it works. And so it's a LoadMate. It's the name of the product, and it's the parent company's Montway, and they're doing a pretty cool logistics setup for dealers. And I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently, so I'm going to stop now. But I'm pretty excited about hearing more about it from them, and then we can speak more intelligently about it. But
I've never used their, I guess it's like their software or, however they've got it all set up. But I know in the past we have used Montway to ship vehicles.
Yeah, I've done it
always
personally.
had a great experience with it. Yeah. Oh, you used them for your own personal stuff?
Yeah, I don't think I've sold any of my prior vehicles locally in 12 years, 15 years. I mean, even going back to my dealer days. Yeah. And then Active Engage is back, and we're so glad to have them back. They were one of our first sponsors, and
long time.
Stoked to have them back again, and we'll have to get them on a show to talk about a couple of things here. And then lastly, we do pay a lot of attention to automotive news for these segments, and I noticed that another one of our sponsors has been all over the last two issues, and that would be Alex Vetter. So he's had some good opportunities on there, and look, jumping right in. So,
well, I came across this on Facebook, actually.
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting purchase, in my opinion. So Credit IQ,
Why so?
And if you all don't know,
I'm not familiar with Credit IQ.
Okay, yeah. So I looked at them briefly, and so there are 4 ways that you can power a digital retailing solution or some sort of online calculator and they're all have their strengths and weaknesses, and they all have their different price points. And so Credit IQ was one of the newer ones to that arena. I believe that the biggest requirement with their software was that you had to have a credit pool before it would give you something back, and there were a couple other things. Yes. And there are a couple other things that, they were very early, and I think in time they'll definitely get there. It's like, around leasing and how do you handle trades in certain situations, things like that aren't the majority of what somebody's trying to do in a digital retailing solution. But when trying to match that when somebody comes in the store can be a little funky. But with the power of cars.com behind them, that could speed up quickly. And also interesting to see what happens where I know cars.com was powered by some other data sources. So we'll have to see what they do on that front. And actually how they're planning to use Credit IQ. Will it just be inside of cars.com? Will it get into Dealer Inspire? We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, and it was, so I think it was a $30 million deal. Yep, says it right there. And another $20 million for performance after that, which in fintech world, that's pretty small. So that's not a big deal. The multiples that fintech technologies bring are much higher than other SaaS organizations do. So 30 million is a pretty small deal.
Just because just because they're in the financial side.
Yep. Yeah. For example,
Hmm.
Prodigy sold to Upstart Bank, and they had less than 100 dealers at the time, I think. And that was like a
What
$100 million
that went
deal.
for?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, and then again, I think to finish up that line, there's OfferLogix is probably another one of the two bigger providers. There's OfferLogix and MarketScan, and
Hmm.
we work with MarketScan. I got a huge bias towards them, although no OfferLogix guy is pretty good. They came out of the Team Velocity company, and then there's Automotive Titling, I think, is doing something as well. They're one of the lesser expensive ones out there, and I heard most of what I know about them through a friend. I haven't looked at them personally, but those are
Never
the
heard of
four
them.
players that I know of who are powering the digital retailing solutions and whatnot. Oh, yeah, and Cox. Cox, I believe, is um, piecing together a couple of things together. Yeah. So Jan,
Because they
why are
have.
people buying these companies? Well, if you're able to own the data and being able to complete a transaction or get very close to completing a transaction, you can put different revenue models in place. You can sell these calculations. You can do all kinds of things. There's a lot of different revenue potential around these kind of companies. So it's a good
So
move
love
on
that data.
Cars.com's part. For
Yeah, it
sure.
makes sense.
Yeah. So what we got next, Chef?
I think we were good old
Oh yeah.
vaccine mandate stuff was in the news a lot, and of course, it probably will be even more so here within the next week or two.
Yeah. OSHA came out with
Yeah.
their guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Um,
but the
Guidelines.
date got pushed back, didn't it?
Yeah. What? January 4th.
Yep. So wasn't it
Well,
November 22nd before?
it was
And
like that.
then
Yeah, I got pushed, which brings up a lot of other questions.
yep. It'll be
That
interesting to see
yeah,
how this continues to play out.
yeah, it is going to be interesting. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't want to go down that hole too deep personally, but we should start a thread on the forums. I don't know,
I think there is
but
one. I think you did start one over there.
yeah, I did start one. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I
You
need to
should
bring that
probably
one back up.
update, like, there's a COVID, or sorry, a Pfizer. God, why am I interchanging those names now? Um,
I don't know.
Pfizer has a new pill that's supposed to help in the treatment of COVID. So,
Yeah, Pfizer Mactin. That's what they're calling it.
hmm,
It's just what I heard. I don't know.
little
Anyways,
touchy
yeah, I gotta
thing.
get these over in the forums. Yeah, I gotta update that thread.
Yeah.
Shame on me for forgetting about it.
So we'll keep tracking these. The three American manufacturers are definitely on all over it. And then
Yep.
right, Mercedes is now
And
coming to it. I mean, January
yeah.
they're all going to have to. So
I don't know, a couple lawsuits out there, but I don't think the lawsuits will move fast enough.
never do.
Nope. And they'll do whatever they can to hold it up. So we'll see.
Probably.
Guess that's
So
good or bad, depending on what side of the coin you're on.
yeah, it's probably not our place to opine on that, but we will keep tracking which of the
Hmm.
manufacturers are moving forward.
Yeah.
One thing I did hear, it was really interesting. If you go back a tab there, Jeff, we don't jump ahead yet. Um,
I'm sorry.
is a friend of mine, and I'll keep some of the names out of this for their sakes, but was explained to me like some of the stuff that's going on at Cox, the whole. So Cox Communications, Cox Automotive, the whole organization is huge, tons of employees, and so like Verizon's and AT&T's and airlines and these major corporations within the United States, and they're having apparently weekly meetings with the presidential administration, the president's administration.
Oh, really?
And this is why a lot of them are getting ahead of this, because they know of things that are probably coming and whatnot. So it was an interesting perspective to hear that there's a lot being shared with the bigger corporations right now in the government.
Yeah, I suspected that. I mean, it makes sense, I guess.
It's confirmed. How's that?
It's confirmed.
Confirmed by anonymous sources. Okay.
Fun.
So, yeah, this is interesting because more companies are doing this. In fact, I took advantage of this when I was a Cox, or after I was a Cox employee. So, all these companies are buying out their pensions and giving an offer to get a pre-buyout on them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know all the reason for it, but we'll probably see a bit more of it.
Yeah, because how long did you work for Cox?
So I was there. So Cox owned Dealer Track for less than 2 years before I was gone. So it wasn't. I didn't have a lot of pension there.
No.
It was. I think it was going to be like, the monthly payments after I was 60 something or whenever I could qualify for it were like, okay, I'll get a sandwich that month. But
of course, that came with Dealer Track's acquisition of Dealer.com, which you were with.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was a wild ride between 2014 and 2017.
I think it was sort of a boring ride, wasn't it?
Some of that.
Yeah.
Let's just say larger companies move a little slow for my pace.
Yeah.
A lot of backs to scratch, and yeah.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how those larger companies even move at all.
Well, Joe Pastel used to say, just when you get so big, just try not to suck too much. That's all. That's all we can hope for. Just don't suck too much. We just can't expect anything better than that. So,
great expectations.
All right. So what's next?
You had something. You were saying something about Tesla and some type of recall.
I wasn't saying anything about the recall there, but I don't feel bad when Tesla catches on fire, as long as nobody's getting hurt. But
of course, you're not a fan.
I'm not look, I don't have a problem with Elon. I don't have a problem with the vehicle. I think they're kind of ugly, but I like some grill. But I have a problem with companies that are threatening the franchise model and hurting everything that you and I have grown up in, and everything my business is built around. Our business with Dealer Refresh is built around. Your job is built around. I take a little problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I do as well.
As the business side of me is like, hey, good roast. And hopefully some others come along that can compete and turn some heads away from what is today's Prius, basically. I always look at the Teslas, especially with green license plates here. It's like, these Prius drivers traded in their virtue signaling for a different version. But
yeah, essentially,
that's my biased opinion on that one.
Yeah, essentially.
Anyway, rant over.
I don't know. I guess I should have more of an opinion on that. I just looked at them as, some, I don't want to say far left manufacturer out there, but you're right. It's how they're going direct to the consumer, and how that, you know, how that lays into our platform for manufacturers, and, uh, the whole dealership networks.
I don't think that I'd call them far left, though. And there's a number of things that Elon Musk, as a human, is doing that I think is pretty cool. Like, he's
Oh
definitely
yeah, and I don't mean,
challenging the models and innovating. And I appreciate that.
yeah, 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 I do too. Yeah,
But
yeah, I
you'll,
didn't mean it
as
like
a
that. I just,
Mercedes dealer, you're going to
just
be competing there.
well, and as all the manufacturers start offering their EVs, we're also seeing that the manufacturers, I guess, they take this opportunity to decrease those, the markup on the vehicles.
Oh, good
So I think we're
segue.
seeing, with oh, that's right, we were talking about that before, weren't we?
That's
Yeah,
right.
you had brought this up. Yeah, 3% margin cut. I mean, what's the margin on that car already? On their vehicles,
Right?
six maybe.
Well,
So that could be a
you're
reduction
affected
of
too.
half.
Mercedes
Yeah,
announced a
Mercedes.
decrease in EV margins.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it
theirs is
was.
only 0.5%, but
I think it's more than that. I thought it was one, but I had it pulled up and I don't see it now.
yeah, I couldn't find it. I've got it in the print version of Automotive News right here. But if you scroll down a bit, Jeff, there's a quote in this article I think that really lays out um, something. So dealer pushback. Yeah, here we go. Oops, stop there. If I have
Oh
10
yeah.
cars that I'm going to make $3,000 on selling, and I have 10 cars that have a very low margin and that customers aren't completely sold on, why am I going to
Hmm.
work harder to make less money?
Doesn't
Yeah.
make much sense, does it?
Well, come on. How many car dealers are listening in right now, or people who used to sell cars? Are you going to try and
Hmm.
sell the car you make less money on?
Hell no.
No
Doesn't
way
make any
ever.
sense. I guess with time, maybe they'll throw some type of split program based on volume, maybe
Well,
try
I
and make
mean,
up for. I mean, they'll have to if they're going to cut the margins, and like you said, unless that's the only thing available, and that's not going to happen for quite a few years, no matter
well, it
what they say.
depends on how quickly the supply chain can get back in shape. So that's what this is,
That too.
you know, in regards to. And I think we'll probably see more of this. I don't know why it's starting with EVs. It's kind of, you know what? Let's jump into, like, let's just go full on EV here. I was going to jump into
Educate
the
us,
supply chain for a
Alex.
minute, but
Educate us.
I had a curious streak over coffee this morning, in regards to EVs, guys. But yeah, I know what you're thinking, Jeff. All right, so
Oh yeah.
do me a favor. At the top of this page, let's see what is that in U.S. Imperial or U.K. Imperial? Okay, good. So it's miles. All right,
Hmm.
so this is the energy consumption of electric vehicles, EVs, and it's by each
Oh.
model, so it's not just Teslas. And the average is 314 watts per mile. Right. So
Hmm.
I did a little math on this. I was just thinking through, like, what does that mean? What the average is 314 watts per mile. I got my notebook here. Let me see. So,
I didn't realize there were so many EV vehicles. My goodness.
oh
Of
yeah,
course, they're not here in the States. These are all over.
oh yeah. So you think about the average American and their driving habits. Forever, we've been saying it's 12,000 miles a year is the average. And I did come across something that
Yeah.
actually said it was a bit higher than that. It was a little over 13,000, but I'll stick with 12,000 miles a year for easy math. So if you say, what is 314 watts per mile? And I like to think of electricity in kilowatts. So it's basically 1,000 watts. Um, so the way it comes down to is, if you've got 1,000 miles per month being driven, which is 12 months, 1,000 miles equals 12,000 miles a year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's 314 kilowatts or kilowatt hours per month. All right. So what is that per year? Well, that's 3,768 kilowatt hours per year. If you have two vehicles in the household that are EVs, that's 7,536 kilowatt hours per year. Now, the way they sell these things is the cost savings against gas. Right? So I've got solar panels on my roof. So I do net metering. I sell power back to the power company. And the power company, I'm in a contract with them where they have to buy the power I generate at, I think it's like 22 cents per kilowatt. Right?
Okay.
And then I'm buying it at their standard rate, which usually is a lot lower than that. I think the highest I see based on time of day is about 19 cents. And then, low consumption hours, it gets down to like 8 cents or something like that. I don't pay that close of attention to it, so don't quote me on those, but it's somewhere in that territory. So when you think about it, like, all right, so if you're averaging like 15 cents a kilowatt hour and what you buy, multiply that by 314, and that's pretty cheap. You're spending what, 30, 40 bucks a month on driving that car from a energy consumption perspective versus right now, you go and fill up your gas tank, 70 bucks, 50 bucks, 60 bucks, whatever. But if you go to the next tab there, Jeff, I was starting to think about like what is the average consumption of the regular American household, and came across this. This is from 2015, and if you hover over some of those graph items, the bars there, you'll see that some of these are mobile homes, other ones are apartments, there's single family homes, da-da-da-da-da. The first section over there, all the way on the left, is all homes put together. And then each bar represents a different region of the United States. And I always thought it was interesting, like, look who's the biggest one, the green is the South.
South.
Yeah. So air conditioning is pretty intense.
I would have more than that's my first assumption.
Yeah, I mean, I started to think about this. I was like, here in Vermont, it gets damn cold, and you don't really need air conditioning here. But the heat, absolutely, you got to have it. So there's you got propane, oil, natural gas, wood, pellets. But even the electric baseboard heaters and things like that, I think are the electric part is used to convert another fuel type into heat. So, like electricity as a heat source is not very good. They have electric heat pumps or what are they also
it's
called?
Big in this area.
Yep. Oh, they're big here too. But they only heat down to like the 20s at a good rate, and then once you get into the teens and single digits, they're probably going to get your house up to like 60, low 60s. You need something to offset that difference. But anyway, so the average household is right now, or 2015, we can assume it's gone up, especially because so many of us are working from home and all that kind of stuff now. But it's 11,000 kilowatt hours per year. So you got two EVs at 7,536. Okay. Think about that. That's 68.5% of the current household consumption would go into charging two vehicles. Right? Assuming we don't get more efficient and all that kind of stuff. It's if we turned it on today or by 2030, which I think is the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so we'll also keep in mind, look, that big green bar is the South. So if you go to the next one, next tab, actually. Oh, I might be jumping ahead. Go to the next tab, Yeah, I am jumping in. Let's save that south for a minute. Keep that in the back of your head. So this,
Okay.
stay where you were. So this is the different energy consumption or fuel types that we burn in the United States. So coal, number one. You've got petroleum liquids. You got natural gas. There's nuclear. There's hydroelectric, solar, wind, and this graph's a little small on the screen, but two things stuck out to me on here, and this is 2020 versus 2021 year to date up to August. So look at the increase in coal consumption. So it looks like it's an increase of 11% year over year.
Mm-hmm.
And you got some decreases there. The decreases are like natural gas. And then the last thing to take note of is the coal supply, which is down at the bottom. And the difference there is fairly significant. So reason I bring this up and where I'm going is, I see some real problems with EVs, not in the day-to-day driving of them, not in their safety, not in their efficiency, not anything like that. I see the problem in our country's ability to generate and produce electricity. And we're already having issues. We saw
Mm-hmm.
Texas went down for a couple of days after an ice storm. We see brownouts in California. I know other states are having issues. And this is just on what we're already putting on the electric grid. On top of that, last year, we were pretty close to energy self-sufficient as a nation. We were producing our own gas.
You were.
And the byproduct of gas for cars, petroleum, is natural gas. So natural gas that we used to heat our homes and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that natural gas was going into the electric grid. So there were natural gas electric stations, and they're making electricity. So in order to, when we killed the Keystone Pipeline deal, we put a couple of things in motion that were taking away our abilities to build gas and supply that, or not build gas, but produce gas and supply it throughout the United States. And then also our natural gas that was a byproduct of that was also creating electricity for us to consume. And now we're not doing that, so we're having to go back to relying on coal. Coal's the main source of electricity in the United States and most of the world.
Makes sense.
And so like if we're burning through the coal to power a more hungry grid, and then we're going to put more environmentally friendly things in the grid because anyway, I don't see how the power grid is going to keep up with the increase in moving more cars away from combustion motors to or combustion engines to energy eating motors. So anyway,
I mean,
yeah.
are there any? I mean, I haven't followed. Are there any plans to improve it? I mean, I haven't heard anything being, talked about on that front. Other than,
there's
more renewable energies, but it's not going to be enough to power everything.
Yeah, and that's what they're talking about. It's definitely wind and solar. Unfortunately, I think the only answer is nuclear, but that's such
it's hands down. It's the only answer.
A scary.
I don't understand
thing.
Why. It's not really though. Everyone, it's got a bad stigma to it, and I think that's about it. Everyone hears nuclear. Heck, even I was having this conversation, a light conversation around this with my daughter, and I said nuclear, and she's 13. She's like, "Oh, we can't do that, Dad." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, where'd you get this information from? 13 years old, 2021, why does nuclear have such a bad stigma for her generation? What the crap did they know about nuclear? You know, I, and it just made me question, like, where'd you hear this from? Who's teaching you this? What, you always hear about, some of the, I guess some of the plants. Heck, it's been so long ago. I don't even remember it, but I know, everyone's just got that. It's just got such a bad reputation. But those reputations come from what, 30, 40 years ago.
Well, you had Fukushima recently too in Japan. Um,
How long ago was that?
was that 17? I don't know, somewhere around there. 16, maybe more. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But how
But
old
anyway,
is the plant? That was my question. Like, how old was the plant? I know they had issues, but how old was that plant?
yeah,
I
they
just know
they
that our
found some
technologies.
mismanagement of certain parts of that, and that's been
Yeah.
the case in every nuclear disaster. There's been something wrong with the
Hmm.
way something's gone down. But human error is human error. That's going to happen. But
I'll tell
anyway,
you, someone that's really interesting to follow on all that stuff is Jake Schellenberger. If you want to really dive into uh, just renewables, nuclear, all that stuff, and really around the environment itself and electric vehicles and all that good stuff. Look up Jake Schellenberger because he had one view, and over the past couple years, it's really changed. And he's really, of course, pushing for nuclear. So he's got some interesting articles out there.
well, it's funny that we would be having this conversation in a car business focused media outlet,
It
but
is, but it
it's
but
it's
it's
here.
going
It's in
to
our
eventually
faces
have an
now.
impact when exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But moral of the
I mean,
story
well,
is, from my perspective, I just don't see how we can roll out this aggressive push over the next 9 years, if 2030 is the goal, to have have more EVs on the road than petroleum vehicles, um, and be able to sleep at night with heat and lights and
mhm.
everything else we like. So we got a lot to figure out. This is the
you
point.
yeah, you will
And
eat less meat and you will enjoy it.
oh,
Anyways, yeah.
well, I think we can skip the next one there, which was just about the where most people live. So if most of the energy
Hmm.
consumption's in the South, most people live in the South. So, and yeah, there's more people
A
living
lot
in the
more people.
household. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
got I don't know, it's
You know,
just
I've,
5 minutes of coffee I had this morning. I found these sites. I
yeah,
did this
really
math,
turned
and
into
I'm a dumbass. Like if I can figure this out in 5 minutes with a cup of Joe, then man, who's running this shit?
really
Anyway,
dove
maybe
into it, man.
I am a total dumbass. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm with
maybe you
you,
missed
Drew. My
something. Who
gas
knows?
power generator will be running too.
Yeah, I've got. What do you have for uh, generators? Do you have a large generator? Just curious.
Oh, I have a portable one because I do a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
You usually use it for I do chainsaw carving. So we'll carve trees and stuff. And
Hmm.
I use it to power the grinders and things for that. So I move it
Okay.
around. But we've got a big one. It's the biggest one Honda makes. So it's like it makes no
Ooh, got a
noise.
good one.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, it
Yeah,
starts every time. Just push
Honda.
button.
Honda. Yeah, you can't beat anything that's got a Honda motor hooked up to it.
Yep.
Lawnmowers. Yeah, some of the best. Some of the best out there. I've got my father's got I think we've got three sitting over there, and they're pretty high watt. One of them's still in a one still sitting in the box. But I've been sort of collecting the collecting purchasing the there's a company called EcoFlow, and they are the battery generators. And I've got the solar panels that you can hook up to them. I think up to 2,800 watts through the solar panel. Some of them are 1,500 watt. And then the Echo Flow, and of course I got a couple different ones. And I've been wanting to get one of their more larger. I forget what it's called. It's called the Delta, Echo Flow Delta. Yeah, but I've got some of their smaller units just in case something happens. I mean, pretty much. I mean, especially like if a freezer goes out, I can power the freezer for about 3 or 4 days just off of that.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I tell you, you see more and more of them. You see more and more companies coming out, more and more advertisements for them. Of course, maybe that's just me because I'm searching online for them. But 8 years ago there was probably a handful of companies, and now there's a shit ton making those the battery cell backups.
Yeah,
and now they got I know. And now in EchoFlow, they've got it all set up where you can get this panel that hooks right up to your house, and you can run your house, hook up the solar panels. Of course, you're going to need some good sun to do that, but you can run your whole house off of 2 or 3 of those units, and it's not stupid expensive. You can put some money.
Go get an F-150 and do that too.
Yes, you can. That's right. Anyways, I don't know. I like talking about some of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, we might be having some more of those conversations in the future if we don't figure this thing out.
I feel I've become a semi-prepper.
Yeah.
I think it just comes with age too, though, As you get older, you just look at things a little differently and like, I don't need all that stuff, but I might need this someday.
All right. Well, what's next on the tab flow up there, Jeff? Oh, Jim.
I've got some forum threads pulled up. And this, what you had pulled up?
Yeah. So this was Jim's. Yeah. So we met with Jim 2 weeks ago.
We did a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's a little bit longer than that, probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Because he's got just a ton of data. I don't know where he gets it all from, but he's got all this data coming from all these different sets, and he was just, what can I do with all this data? I don't know where he gets it all from, but he's got a ton of data.
I know he's buying a few different data sets and then he's splicing it together in different ways. And there's some interesting stuff. Like if anybody drew, you might have fun with it. I was also thinking Craig, and also a Canadian, so might be able to connect and figure out some neat things to do with it. But Jim's an interesting dude. If you get an opportunity to talk to him, I'd do it.
Yeah. Super nice guy.
And hopefully he continues to share some of this data with us as he unpacks more of it. What's next, Jeff?
Some interesting stuff. Something around VinSolutions AMP product, which I've never used. Not even really familiar with it, are you?
Yeah, I'm not either. It's interesting, though. Yeah, I wanted you to throw this one up here more so to get to the next one with VinSolutions because they've been pretty hot in the forums of late. So there's another tab here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I love this. And in fact, even as a technology provider, I would love it if my clients did this. It might be stressful and whatnot to, see like a whole bunch of clients. So they're all ganging up against you to try and get something done. But at the end of the day, like what you can learn and gather from that and share with your employees and everything like that to rally around it is very valuable. And I love that this was started and so many are chiming in to work together to try and get VinSolutions to update a particular flow in their system for when the dealer buys cars from somebody outright. Mm-hmm. So they can follow up with them later.
We've invited just about every vendor out there, especially years back, to start their own thread on Dealer Refresh and use it as sort of like a customer support / Q&A for their products and services. And we've got a few that do it, but none of them really dive into it and have sort of taken ownership of it. But it really would be a great way to rally your troops, or I mean, heck, it's almost advertising. It's almost like free advertising to some degree. But I don't know why more don't take advantage of it. It's usually they probably just don't have that person at the realm there to execute something like that.
You know, and sometimes there are topics that the answer isn't something that the dealers want to hear, and it's not easy to put that across in a way that doesn't invite more argument. I've seen that, like, we've watched Dealer.com go through that. I mean, probably one of the longest threads on Dealer Refresh is got Dealer.com getting picked apart for one thing or another. And there have been others. You know, the person who's been a master at working in these things has been Joe Chura. So Dealer Inspire issue comes up, Joe's quick to jump in there, and so are some of his leaders in the company. And they usually get it handled.
Well, and so is Alex Vetter. Many times something comes up around cars.com back in the day, even to this day. You know, he takes the time to jump in here and get a message across.
Yeah, we could ask Rick Buffkin about that.
Yeah. Ask Rick about a lot of things.
Yep.
So. And then you started this one. This was a fun one. This was really fun because we had a member sort of slide in, and I guess he put together some figures where it was showing that the payment calculator, he was getting a lot of engagement from the payment calculator. But if I'm not mistaken, I need to refresh my memory, he went back and redid his
number went up.
And it was still
if you scroll down, I think it's one of the last. I'm
your
intentionally
whole thing was you started to whole change my mind, you know, because every dealership website's got some type of financial calculator on there. Most of them are pretty generic. They suck. They don't.
Well, really, you know who got me down this train of thought. This was another coffee in the morning thing.
Who got you down this train of thought, Alex?
Ryan Everson. So he's been griping about how they're being forced to have multiple digital retailing solutions that they don't want on their website. So the manufacturers, you've got many franchises, you're probably dealing with this. So the manufacturers are pushing out some tool that you're not bought into or whatever. It looks bad on your website. Who knows what? And, you know, so you can see where some dealers have got this digital retailing solution they're buying, and then another one that the manufacturer is making them have on there. And then on top of that, Capital One has come through and geniusly on their part and has got this Capital One thing in there where you get a better rate if you use it. But at the end of the day, what you're doing to the customer is so freaking confusing. The customers,
they all have a different payment at the end.
Oh, the customer is confused as hell from the get-go. Like, try and buy a car. Seriously, like, it's hard. I couldn't do this until I became a civilian. Like, I grew up in a dealership, and my whole way of thinking was, how do I put this customer in our process? And I didn't give a shit. I'll just throw it right out. I did not give a shit about what the customer experience was. It was more about, how do I get them in the process? How do I get them through this funnel as fast as we possibly can, as easy as we can, as profitably as we can? And then I became a customer. And I when the tide was changed, like, this is not good.
Sucks.
Like, the stuff I was doing, oh, wow. Thankfully, our competitors were just as equally incompetent and did the same shit. But man, yeah, I did some bad stuff. And this is bad stuff. All right. So the customer is going through this world of confusion, and they have no idea, like, how much is this car for me? And the only way they can find that out really is to go into a dealership. Right? In most cases, some dealers will quote prices via text or email or over the phone, but they usually don't quote payments. And that's really what the customer's after. So they're trying to find out how much is this for me. They're working in a world of, well, I got a $500 a month budget. They're not like, I got 40 grand. Well, how can I drop that? So anyway, the finance calculator is this overlooked thing. It comes with all of our dealership websites, and doesn't answer anything. It's bring your own numbers. And if you're going to tell me to bring my own numbers, I'm going to bring the numbers I want to play with.
Numbers.
That's right. Not the numbers you want me to play with. Well, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of no different than, giving someone a payment quote over the phone, because you go through the same questions. Well, where are you titling at? What's your credit like? All these wonderful questions that the customer didn't take into account, and the same questions that the payment calculator doesn't take into account.
Yeah. So as far as utilization, it might get some decent utilization, as was pointed out at the bottom of this thread, if you don't mind scrolling down, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently there's a website provider. Yeah. They've got a payment calculator on their VDP that's getting utilized. Well, of course it is. And I almost think, like, if it's 14.35% or later he did 16%, that seems a little low.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, Drew. So anyway, I'd be curious to see what website he's referring to. Just go take a look at it, just out of curiosity's sake. But
yeah, I mean, there's so many variables involved there. But I had broken this down a long time ago, but it was so many years ago, and that's when I could come to the conclusion that it was probably doing more harm than good having it on the website. But that was also prior to having easy access to different tools out there that can actually break down a more accurate payment.
Yeah.
And now that we have a tool that allows us to break down the more accurate payment, I mean, that gets a ton of play. And I can't imagine if I was sending them to a generic payment calculator. Well, I mean, we already know if you send them to that, it's not going to convert. And a lot of times it's not about the online conversion. It's about getting the customer actually to show up at the dealership. So if you can give them a more accurate payment with an actual tool that's able to represent that based on all the different variables, you get more phone calls, and you just get more people showing up. Definitely been able to track it down to that.
I'll throw out, as we're coming near the end here, I'll throw out a little tip on that front, especially as we're mostly used car dealerships these days. Get your sales managers and your GMs to look at used car leasing, and the lenders that will.
Yeah, you keep pushing that, man.
Man, there's some good shit out there.
That's interesting.
Kula. There's some credit unions that are getting aggressive here. You can, as you're buying cars and paying more for them, it's getting harder for the customer to afford these things. Do them a favor.
Well, I'm also thinking, like, first time buyer, I mean, most people mess something up, their very first car. You really don't want to buy something new. Lease something pre-owned, You know what I mean? I'm just thinking, something screws up on the car, you rack it because you always get some type of little fender bender in your first car. I don't know. It seems like it makes sense to me to lease something pre-owned.
Oh, well, here's some great news. Oh, sorry. I got excited about a comment from Ryan here, because this is great news to end on. Fuck yeah. Carvana's losing.
Oh, they are?
That's here. Posted a Q3 loss of $45 million.
Oh, that just came in. Wow. Where's
Yeah.
that at?
Ryan just shared it, so I'm sure
Okay.
we'll be able to find it. But that's going to be a fun
Yeah.
conversation. We need that in the forum so we can crap all over Carvana some more.
Yeah. Well, we've got an existing thread over there. I'll have to pull it up and find that news bit. Ryan, send that over to me. We'll get that posted.
Yeah.
So, all right, Alex, let's end it.
Right on.
Right
Till
on.
next week.
Fun news. All right, man. Make it a great weekend.
See y'all. Have some rum chata.
Yes.